have on the bench here in front of me a professional compression tool for use with compression F connectors that are available on the tvtrade.ie website. Now, it's part of a range of compression tools we have. This one is particularly good because it has a ratchet action and it's easier to use over a prolonged period. So I'll just give you a quick overview of the features of it. So you can see there's some writing on the front of it just to say that there's a cutting action here, and it's suitable for both RG6, which is satellite cable, and RG59, which we normally used in the CCTV security camera industry. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show here is just the cutting blades here. So we have a type of ratchet action here. So if we had an uneven cut in the cable, we want to cut it here. We just put the cable in, and like that, it'll snip it off, and it gives a very even cut like that. Okay. And the compression part helps here. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to give a quick overview now of the difference really between a compression F, which this tool is designed for use with, and an ordinary twist-on F connector. So normally the standard in the industry, simply because it's cheap and simple to use, is a twist-on F connector where we get a satellite cable, we pare it down, we twist on an F connector, and we use that for our connection. And normally it's okay. The advantage, we'll say, of the compression F is it gives a much better fit onto the cable. It serves the same purpose, but the disadvantage of using F connectors is that they're much more expensive, and also we'll say you need a compression tool with it. Okay, so what I'm going to start off here, I'm just going to show how we're going to use this tool to put on a compression F connector. So what I'm going to start off here is about 20 millimeters down along this cable. I'm going to do a series of cuts through the sheet on the outside of the cable, and then I do a cut at an angle to that. So there. I'll just take off this foil wrap here, and we'll just wrap this in a piece of copper in a clockwise direction. So this is copper braiding on the outside. So you have copper braiding on the outside, and towards the centre, inside this dielectric here, what we're actually going to have is we're going to have the copper, or the copper coated aluminium, depending on the grade of cable. So this, the key point here is when we're doing this, we need to make sure that the braiding on the outside does not touch the core on the centre, because if it does, so if we're using this with an F connector, we just twist on, we just put it in, twist it into location there, and we want the copper here in the centre to be just a little bit pronounced past the top of the F connector. Now if we come in and use it with the F connector here, the key points to notice here is that there's an outer metal casing here, and there's a plastic inner insert, and there's sort of a gap here in between where there's room for this actual casing. When pressure comes on it, when we're compressing it, it'll slide into position. Now if we looked inside the F connector itself, what we'll see is the compression F connector is there's some metal housing in there, and what will happen here is that the core wire goes inside it, and the braiding on the outside will be, what will happen is that central core inside will slip in between the braiding and the outer sheet. So when we compress it, it'll lock very tightly in position. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to actually push this into position here. So I can just guide it in like this, and just push it on, and we can see here the cable is after pushing right through. Now you can see here that the amount of copper being exposed here in the centre is far more than we actually need. So I'm just going to do a quick snip at this point. Now I'll come and actually use it with the compression tool. So we have the cable, or we have the connector put onto the cable at this point, even before we bring it over to the tool here. So what we simply do is, there's a hollow in the centre of this, so it allows the core wire to slot into it. And then we just push it in, and what we can see here is that they're locking into position here. And what we can do here is you can just push in, and what's going to happen during this process is that the actual plastic sleeving here, the inner part, as we compress it, it'll be pushed up and compressed. So the overall length of the connector will become much shorter, and it'll lock into position. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just tilt it slightly, and you can see it's pushing up there. Hopefully you can see it closer, and now it's locked, and you can see the ratchet action, and when it's gone to a certain point, it's there. When we pull this cable back out, and we pull this connector now, we can see it's absolutely locked into position. Okay, so it's given a much tighter thing. And the reason that we'd want to use a tool like this, let's say in conjunction with this connector, is if we're doing a high-end finish and we want to make it look good, this is good. If we're putting in connectors, we say at the back of the television box, where it's been pulled out constantly, and we want to make sure when we're hoovering whatever that it won't pull off. This is it. And also we'll say use a tool like this if you're continuously working with it, because the ratchet action is great. You'll find that we'll say if you're putting together a head end system where you have loads of F connectors in a comms room or something, using compression Fs is absolutely essential. Okay, otherwise it'll just drive yourself crazy with things. Although, having said that, then the F connector, the cheap one there, twist on, is still dominant in the industry for simple installations. So that's it now. This one here, I quite like it. We also sell on the TV Trade website this compact compression tool, which has the same basic principle. It's not quite, it's a little bit more forceful, it doesn't have the ratchet action. It's actually slightly easier to use and comes at a lower cost and gives an equally good finish. So both are available on the tvtrade.ie website.